Hi, everybody. This is Mike Shirobi, and welcome to PunchAlert. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar on housekeeping panic buttons. So are you prepared? That's the real question that we're asking our folks today. Please note that we are recording this, so if you have to jump off, we will certainly send this out to you. But with that, thank you so much. Please check us out on our social media. You'll see us on all over our social media within Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. But also we'll be posting this on our YouTube channel, so you can see this at any time. So with that, happy June 27th here in 2019. We're getting ready for upcoming holiday here with the July 4th holiday coming up and Independence Day. But something really big happened last week that we're sharing with a lot of our folks in the emergency response community, and that is, how do you respond, right, as a hotel operator? How do you respond in regards to the new panic button legislation that's going on, specifically is in New Jersey? So with that, I'd like to share with you our presentation in regards to what you should be thinking about and what should concern you as you're preparing for this legislation to take place. But also, if you're not in New Jersey, please make sure you check with your state laws in regards to what's going on and what's coming down, so that you're prepared for these types of legislation changes, right? So with that, I'm going to share my screen with you, but I'm also going to turn off my webinar screen as well, so we can focus on the presentation. So with that, I'm going to stop my video, and here we are into the presentation. And welcome. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Shirobi, and I'm the Vice President of Sales here at PunchAlert. We are headquartered out of Charlotte, North Carolina. First and foremost, why we're here today is, are you prepared, really? That's the number one question that we are seeing out there in the emergency response field is, how prepared are you, right? So that is super important for what we're seeing out there. And today, what you're going to see is, last week, the governor of New Jersey signed into law the new hotel safety law that mandates housekeeping panic buttons. So that's a super important thing for the industry. It's great because it helps protect employees. It helps emergency measures be streamlined, but also gives us continuity, right? It gives us lessons learned and gives us those standards that we need so that we can help protect our employees, which is the most important thing that we want to do, right? But also our guests, right? That's really, really important. Here you also see New Jersey passes its home law from NBC News, right? So it's certainly really important. But what we're also seeing there in the paper is nobody's immune to this, right? So there are housekeepers have had incidents, unfortunately, where in this incident here, out in California, they had an intoxicated guest, right? Also, if you see here in the San Diego Union Tribune, same thing. Unfortunately, a housekeeper had an incident, and at the end of the day, our businesses and our hotel operators were responsible for the protection and safety of our housekeeping associates, right? But also think about just a few years ago with the violence out in Las Vegas, and we like to share this with our clients and so forth, because typically if you look at Las Vegas, they certainly have that's the core of their city, that's the core of their economy, is entertainment and hospitality, right? And how can we help make sure that our people are safe, right? It's super important. Well, in this article, just to share with you, is it took Mandalay Bay over a year, and they were still struggling with the challenges of recuperating from that violent act when they had that country concert, right? It's super important, is how can we be prepared in the best ways, right? So if Vegas has one of the most dominant cities in not only our country but in the world in regards to recuperate, if it took them a whole year and they still haven't recuperated with all the money that they have, and in a surplus economy, some of our other cities and other entities might be as less fortunate, right? So it can certainly be a crippling effect. But also we have to look at the victims, right? The victims are doing their due diligence, right? And our hotel operators are at risk. So with that came last year was the 5-star promise. And what is the 5-star promise? The 5-star promise is by the American Hotel and Lodging Association. They want folks to feel safe on the job, right? You want your employees to feel safe. You want your guests to feel safe. But really the kind of three-pronged points here are you want to deploy employee safety devices so that your hotel housekeepers are safe and that they can acknowledge your staff accordingly to that there is an incident, right? And you can check on that incident to make sure that they are safe. But it's also what we really tip our hat to the AHLA is their commitment to safety, right? This whole 5-star promise is a commitment to safety that the organization stamped their approval in September of 2018. So we're almost a year to that point. What's really unique is the unprecedented unity of this, right? All the major hotel operators, the leaders of the industry, they have all stamped, their CEOs, their leadership teams have stamped the approval of this 5-star promise. So it's super important to the industry, and it's also super important to our guests. They feel comfortable in these environments, right? But really, here are kind of the 5 stars of that promise. And here's where PunchAlert and where we shed a whole lot of light and a lot of insight and expertise is employee safety devices, but also that being that vital partner, right? And educating our clients in regards to what's going on, what others are using, what's going on in the industry, because sometimes they're not always sharing this with the public, and sometimes you're not always seeing this and when you go to conferences. So what we're here to do is to spread the word of what people are doing to make sure that their staff is safe. So with that, what comes in about of keeping folks safe is what's going on with the facts, right? The facts are, as everyone knows, if you're in healthcare or if there's an emergency, those first few seconds are critical. But the challenge is you might not be doing these types of emergency drills every day. When was the last time that they happened, right? When did these incidents happen? You might be in the middle of doing something. It's that lack of awareness, right? And then there's a lot of time wasted in regards to think, because a lot of times when these incidents happen, your natural emotions and body takes over in regards to how you're going to react to that. So you've got a lot of variables. But also, the number one thing we also see is medical emergencies, making sure that, folks that, unfortunately are having maybe a cardiac arrest, we are up against the clock, right? 10 minutes is that magic number, 7 minutes with an ambulance response. So every second counts when it comes to making sure that, your guests and your employees are responded to when it comes to a medical emergency, right? Statistically, you look right now today, right, there's definitely more eyes and attention to harassment. And harassment is not always physical, it can also be verbal. And in California, there was a jury awarded an individual $168 million a few years ago. So it certainly can be certainly impactful to your business if it's not caught in a matter of time, and there's it's foreseen as negligent, right? But also we look at workplace violence. Most workplace violence if you look at OSHA, which is the standard by the Department of Labor of Law that we're all business entities in the United States are guided upon, over 90% of all workplace violence, if it's physical, actually comes from non-employees. So in the hotel and hospitality industry, we are at extreme risk just because of so many folks that we have that are guests on our properties, right? However, if you look at those statistics as well from the Department of Labor, 1 out of 7 people in today's world don't feel safe at work. So that's super critical, right? If you multiply that times 100 employees, I mean, that's a big number of people that every day they don't feel safe. And all it takes is one incident to trigger these types of actions. And then in the worst case scenario, what we're seeing is, active shooter environments, right? That's the most extreme of all workplace violence, but it's something that we have to take into account, right? The number one environment is business, and it happens between business counterparts more than any other incident. And unfortunately, it is an increasing trend. However, it is statistically, there are signs that employers can see. what they've done statistically is 62% of these harassing actions that you see actually are triggers, are warning signs for a violence in the workplace. So those are things that how can we track those? So what we're seeing here is, hey, how does the hotel and hospitality industry, how do we respond to emergency responses and medical emergencies and workplace violence, right? Those are really high priorities that take us out of our day-to-day operations. And sometimes, unfortunately, they become just that one-time training a year that everybody gets reminded of, and then it kind of gets lost in translation, right? But as the summer months pick up and there's a lot of different travelers and a lot of different weddings and parties that folks are coming to because they're coming to our hotels for those types of events, you get a lot of different people from a lot of different areas coming around to your property. So it's super important as how do we prioritize these types of things. So personally, why I'm so vetted about this is, unfortunately, I have seen workplace violence and I've seen lockdowns. My children have actually been both part of 2 lockdowns. My son actually was part of a lockdown of his elementary school a few weeks ago during field day. Fortunately, it was only a parent who was walking through the woods with a backpack. However, it's extremely important is how do you prepare for these things when people are worried? Those things start to trigger different things. Unfortunately, we were part of poor communication. My wife was the only person that got communicated with the lockdown. I did not get any emails, did not get any phone calls, I did not get any text information. So that's super critical and really disappointing because I would, as a parent, I want to know where my children are at all times. Same thing with employees, right? They are our family. We want to know where they're at all times. And the second time my children were impacted was somebody broke into some houses behind their elementary school. Both of my kids were on lockdown. My wife calls me, I'm sweating bullets. She's like, hey, it's in lockdown. We didn't have very much communication other than it was locked down. And from 10 a.m. to about 5 p.m., 6 p.m., our kids were in lockdown, and just all the worst things go through your head. It's a really impactful event. Time seems to slow down and stop, but that's why PunchAlert is here, is to help get you clarity and visibility and patience and calmness as you respond to your emergencies. So really it comes down to what is that price tag of violence, right? And keeping our housekeepers safe, right? I mean, these are a lot of different things that you'll see here of, again, it's not always physical. There's also verbal communications as well. So, and just on and doing more research that we've seen in the housekeeping, guests can, apparently be watching certain videos that might not be appropriate for our housekeepers, but also people being on phone calls and saying certain things because they don't think that there's any certain repercussions. So those are things that we have to think about, and how do we keep our housekeeping staff and employees safe at all times, right? So the impacts that we're seeing in the hotel industry are, like we saw before, right? The victims, there's legal fees, right? There's also hospital bills, and there's potential turnover. Just word of mouth, people not feeling safe. 1 out of 7 is an extremely impactful environment. But also the indirect costs, right? The negative publicity. We talked about the unfortunate incident with Mandalay Bay, but also that brand impact, and that PTSD of, hey, what is going on? Certain triggers going on that may impact your brand negatively. So where did all of this start, and where did mass communications and notifications start? Well, back in 2007, the unfortunate active shooter environment at Virginia Tech. Now, we had cell phones. However, the mass communication just was not there. And for PunchAlert, where we got our start and where we got our roots, our CEO was super passionate about the response to the Sandy Hook Elementary environment, and that's why PunchAlert is here today. Is we are here to help embrace and help folks who are responding to emergencies quickly and fast. So with that, these emergencies hit, and your plans aren't followed and you got wasted time. So a few weeks ago, in my neighborhood, we had somebody who had a broken down car who was on our street. It was very early in the morning. Their hair was all messed up. They looked a little bit like maybe they were out having a good time the night before, and it really kind of puts you in a scary environment. My kids were fortunately, they were inside the house, but we had to personally lock down our home until police were able to come out and check this person out. So again, when those things happen, you're not always really expecting that. So that's where we feel that there's a lot of great systems out there. There's a lot of neat things, but technology, nobody's been really able to come out there and put this on a platform and kind of give you that one touch, that one system to kind of do all that. But that's why PunchAlert is here to help communicate these best practices with our housekeeping associates. So with that, I would like to introduce you to one of our special guests and our teammates. Her name is Ashley Davis. And Ashley, are you on the call?
Yes, hello. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Ashley. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you. Ashley is our Vice President of our Community Response and our Customer Experience. And with that, I'd like to have Ashley kind of talk a little bit here. This is a great segue in regards to the systems and what she's seen with our clients and our client base, and what they typically have when it comes to systems, but also what are those aha moments that are kind of triggering folks to kind of take a look at, hey, how do we keep our housekeeping staff and how do we keep our hotel staff safe? So Ashley, would you mind shedding some light in regards to what you're seeing out there with our clients and out there in the hospitality vertical?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a shift in leveraging the technology in the palm of our hands. You picture some really great systems here: surveillance, walkie-talkies, intercom systems, just your standard landline phones, which are all great. We're not asking you to remove any of those. What we want to do is we want to work with you with the systems that you have in place, but then also leverage the technology you have in the palm of your hands already, and that many of your employees would have it in the palm of their hands. Meaning, the smartphone, right? This mobile-centric world that we live in, we can order a pizza, we can order a car, we can even order a date on our phones. But when it comes to safety and security, we are just not leveraging our mobile devices enough. And so that was another really passionate goal of the co-founders of PunchAlert, was to use our smartphones in a way that made us safe and secure, not only at our place of employment, but off campus or off of the premises as well. And so they've worked very diligently with some partnering systems, again integrating systems all into one solution to enhance 911 for callers. So to be able to share their name, their phone number, their actual location, and then give organizations the ability to provide a platform to their employees so that if something did happen, that they could report it to their security team, streamline that communication, reduce that response time. And actually on our platform, not only can you call 911, you can also simultaneously report that incident to your organization. So we're not having you decide, who do I need to reach out to for help? It's like you can, yell and get everybody on the same line at the same time. And so I think with our customers, that aha moment is, I think we're seeing a transition of, no cell phones on the floor to, okay, it's reality. They're going to have their cell phones with them. That is the world that we live in. What can we do to make sure that we're utilizing it to the fullest extent?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great insight, right? I mean, looking at these technologies here, with the exception of the smartphone, is they're not very intelligent, right? they have to get to some sort of system if they want to all communicate to them, within themselves, right? So same thing with just a panic button. What we're seeing is, hey, just having a panic button, it may or may not give you all the intelligence that you need. So that's why PunchAlert is extremely adamant about the housekeeping panic button law that's going into place, is because we are actually, our services is actually a little bit more complex. We help you tie everything in where it's a platform and not just a panic button, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I will just add, that I've seen from our customers is they get very excited with the opportunity to give, their employees something that will make them feel appreciated and empowered, right? I think that's pretty important too, is that when employees feel like, their organization is really doing something to ensure their safety and their security, they feel, they feel like they feel a part of something. They feel like they are appreciated.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's number one thing with safety, right? And emergency response is how do we keep our folks safe, but also, this is a critical event, right? When these things happen, and you don't want those folks to be in harm's way. So with that, what we're also seeing is folks that want to utilize emergency response into their existing enterprise class software. So with that, being able to open up tickets, being able to kind of do more day-to-day type of things. For instance, hey, we're out of toilet paper in the bathroom on the main floor, right? Being able to do those types of things. It's not just always emergencies, but it's also incidents, right? It's, hey, we need to, there's a leaky sink on floor 2, right? How do we communicate with this? Is we're seeing folks, hey, it's not just a panic, but it's also certain incidents that we've got to get repair quickly, right? And how do we put these into our systems? So what we like to, what we're seeing out there, right, is, there's really kind of two puzzle pieces there, right? There is, hey, it's safety and making sure that our housekeeping and our employees are safe, but it's also is how do we respond and how does that team work together, right? So this is really our community, our employees, but also, we're responsible for our guests as well and making sure that they're safe as well. So, what if you could, start this emergency action plan in seconds, right? So with that, that's why PunchAlert is here today. Is we are a platform where, within seconds you can get your emergency response team enacted and you can work on your safety plan immediately. So it's super important, but it's also, we're here to spread the word that, hey, this system is out there for you today. And it's as simply as one punch of a button, right? PunchAlert in our name, right, is all you have to do on your smartphone is punch the emergency report button right there, as simply as that. And this is where, Ashley, I'd like to bring you in as well and talk a little bit more about this slide. But, this really kind of gives you a screenshot of what PunchAlert looks like in regards to reporting emergencies, posting views and tips and announcements. Ashley, where are you seeing clients and customers using PunchAlert in this environment?
Yeah, so this is where, I like to really engage our customers and understand from their perspective, starting with emergencies, what type of emergencies happen on their campus, not just active threats. We're talking fire drills, bomb threats, active shooters. Yes, you have all those emergencies, but maybe from an IT perspective, a system offline alert, power outage, things like that are emergencies as well. So I really love to engage with their different teams to understand, what's important to them, what would they like to automate into an alert, that could automatically alert them when a system goes offline, for example, so that they could start managing and triaging that emergency within their team and then be able to, notify as needed to the different departments.
Yeah, that's absolutely outstanding. And if we look at this middle slide of posting views and tips, think about your employees right there in the top left corner. There's an accident, right? Accident in the parking lot. You want to make sure that you're reporting that. car trouble during, typically weather changes from spring to fall or wintertime. Batteries tend to die during that time, and people need to get jump started, right? Or hey, maybe somebody's broken into a car, or hey, the ice machine is broken on floor 3. There was a spill in the lobby. We need, a custodian. Again, a dangerous animal. We've actually seen reports in the housekeeping area where, hey, they're not supposed to have animals in the hotel, and somebody has an animal in the hotel. How are we going to, alert that? But also, drugs and alcohol events, please, there's a lot of different things in here to keep everybody safe, right? That's the whole component, and what we're trying to help within the hospitality field. And then in regards to announcements, Ashley, what are you seeing there in regards to announcements? What are some of the popular announcements that you're seeing?
Yeah, so, HR messaging goes out. You can include documents so that if they need to review something, you have the ability to turn on comments so that they can respond, acknowledged. Not everybody has to see those comments. It could just be the announcement administrator that sent out the announcement. So there are ways to, two-way communicate with your employees now through announcements. We've really enhanced that feature because we felt that it was important to give organizations not just a way to mass notify, but to be able to crowdsource the content that they needed based on what they were notifying about. The other thing that I will say just really quickly about reporting emergencies and posting tips is that what's important to know as an organization is that you have complete control over where that communication goes and who receives that communication and who manages and triages and announces that information. So our platform is completely customizable and flexible, and we love to work one-on-one with you to determine what that looks like for your organization.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's excellent. Thanks for sharing that. So, in regards to, hey, there's a fire in the hotel, right? How do you respond to those fires? So this would be your first responding team that can go check it out to validate whether or not it is a fire. So you see here on the left, we have Greg, who's our CEO and co-founder, and then you have Ashley, who's on our call today. You can see here how they're talking in regards to, on their cell phone. It looks exactly like your cell phone does today, whether you're an Apple user or whether you're a Droid user, right? So, again, we're not changing the way that anything looks based on those companies. It's going to look exactly the same. But also, you see here we have a fire checklist, and that checklist is to make sure that your team is following all of those guidelines that you have in place that you need to do to check check on the fire checklist, right? And then if you have to, here on the right-hand side, what you're going to see is, hey, we want to notify certain roles, we want to send updates, we need to lock something down, hey, we need check-ins. Hey, have you checked in? Have you checked out? So again, real easy to use, quickly. And then here at the bottom on the left side, you'll actually see where you have a camera for taking a picture, or you have a microphone where you can actually record something, phone for a phone call to 911, and then you have your checklist there that actually has some quick prompts where you can kind of quickly tie in some quick prompts. But the key thing there is you could take a picture of what's going on and sending that, like, hey, I saw this this person with matches over here, or hey, this car caught on fire and this is what's going on, right? So again, your staff can feel safe that, hey, they took a picture of that incident, or if they weren't even quick enough, they could hit that voice memo and say, hey, the person was wearing a black jacket with a red hat and had white shoes on, and they look like they are 6'3", right? So again, gives you enough quick details so that you can alert the right people depending on your situation, right? So with that, status of large groups, Ashley, you want to talk a little bit about status? I know you were being with our community. This was something that our community actually asked for, and this was an upgrade within PunchAlert.
Yes. So another great thing I love about working with the PunchAlert team is that, and also working so closely with our customers, is that we learn from them, right? And this came into play from some of our enterprise customers. They wanted to be able to quickly see at a glance, who's okay, who's not okay, so that they knew who to get to quickly, and then who was off property that they didn't necessarily need to worry about. But also that they knew that those folks off property knew that there was something going on campus, and not to come. So this was an awesome feature that I'm super excited that we just released not too long ago. That I know a lot of our customers are very excited to be able to have in their platform.
No, that's great. Again, quick communication, letting people know who's okay, not okay. That's really going to impact your decisions, right, for your business. But then also, can you talk about status and role?
Yeah, so what's important here is not only can you drill down by, are they okay, are they not okay, but you also can drill down by role, which can be important too if you're trying to find someone on your team quickly, that's a member of maybe your internal responder team, or, just a member of your employee team or your maintenance staff. We wanted to give you two options to be able to filter quickly when you're trying to look for who you needed.
Excellent. Yeah, and it also kind of shows their roles there, right? If they're an employee, if they're internal responder, if they're on the leadership team. So again, you can kind of see where that role is, so you can make the best decision. But also everyday incidents, right? So again, power outages. We talked a little bit before about some accidents and some other things, but really, this those day-to-day things is it's not always the most extreme emergency, but just the little things of power outages, inclement weather, if you need to close your pools, or you need to close certain parking lots because of they need to be shoveled, or salt needs to be put down. So again, those everyday incidents, it really becomes a great communication tool. But also the reporting that's going to come from this is you're going to be able to see trends there that you and your staff and your leadership team are going to be able to say, hey, why do we keep having this incident, right? And it'll help you prepare your business and prepare for keeping your folks safe. So
one other thing that I wanted to mention about the tips that I'm finding with our customers, a lot of them are putting in there like employee recognition or kudos. It's a great way for that on the spot recognition to say, hey, this particular employee really helped me, or they did a great job and I want to acknowledge them. It's a great way for employees to be able to recognize other employees. Super simple and easy.
That's great. I mean, and then coming down to with announcements, right, to your staff and your members. Again, with your hotel property, you might have an outdoor event that's going on, and you're like, hey, we need to cancel that because of rain or lightning or tornadoes, right? But how do you communicate that? The nice thing is here on the far left is you can decide how you want to communicate that to your staff, right? Via email, text message, a phone call, social media if it's the right instance, right? So again, these are just giving our clients the best way to respond naturally within the environment, because again, we are a platform, right? We're going to give you all the opportunities to communicate in a panic situation. Also,
I did want to just interject here as well too, because I think it's important. These are the basics of what you're going to get. These communication channels: email, text message, phone call, Twitter. Because we're a platform, because we can integrate with the systems that you already have in place, with the technology that you already have in place, don't leave out your other communication channels. We will help you figure out a way to integrate those into this location as well, so that you can communicate in one place to all those platforms. So RSS feeds, website widgets, Slack channels, just the possibilities are endless. This is the reason why I love to interact with our customers, because I find all new different ways that they are communicating, and that all new different ways that we can integrate into our platform. Another one is digital signage. I love our partnership with Rise Vision. One touch of a button, boom, that announcement is sent out to all the digital signage that organization set up on the back end. So it's really a powerful tool.
Great point there, right? With digital signage, so for our hotel folks who have digital signage in lobbies or other parts of their properties, super important, right? To get everybody safe and in a safe instance, right? So that people know where to go in the event of emergency. So that's huge. So thanks for sharing that. I think it's a great talking point. In regards to having emergencies all in one place, we do have automated systems from FEMA and Amber Alerts that are injected into our activities. So again, being a platform, you're going to be able to, you see these alerts, then you're going to be able to alert the right property or the right staff that, hey, we need to get people, the right people on board, right? This is a freeze warning. So what do we do in the time of a freeze? Okay, well, we need to go through our plan, A, B, and C of the things that we need to do in regards to this is what has to be done in the parking lots. This is what has to go through our entryways, and making sure that we have salt down and all the other ramifications to prevent any freezing or any guests or employees slipping and falling in those circumstances, right? Mitigating risk. But also, we talk about the safety and communication platform, right? As you see here, this is kind of the typical flow or the life cycle of an incident, right? So, on the top left, you're starting out, hey, we have an incident. There is a fire on floor 3, right? Somebody smells smoke. Okay, we need to call 911. How are we going to communicate with that, right? So again, as you go through all of these things, these are a lot of steps that you have to think about, and how do you kind of get these all together in one place, right? So that's where PunchAlert is that safety partner for you, right? So 911, super important, right? As our CEO is doing some research based on 911 response, by saving 1 minute, you can save 10,000 lives. That's a lot. I mean, for 60 seconds, you can save up to 10,000 lives. That is huge. That is a tremendous stat in regards to how you can help the safety of your organization. But also what's really important is the future of 911, which we call 911 Plus. And really that's using GPS coordinates to actually get down granularly to where exactly are you within that building, or where exactly are you on the property for 911. And it's especially important for our folks who have large properties. For example, we have the Charlotte Hornets, the NBA basketball team here in Charlotte. They have a large piece of property, right? And in regards to knowing where people are at certain times, how do you manage that with all the people that are on site? But also, they work with celebrities and so forth, and entertainers a lot. So again, there's a lot of variables and unknowns within that space. But again, it comes down to your property, right, and your staff is how can we make sure that we get 911 going to the right door, the right property. So for you, hotel operators who have large pieces of property, this is super important. Not this kind of even if you have a smaller property, but 911 Plus really helps you support that going forward. And with that, we have a new product launch, which is actually our physical panic button that comes in with PunchAlert. So with that, I'd like to ask you, Ashley, being on our customer, being so engaged with our customers and finding out what they want and where things are going. Can you talk a little bit about the why rescue, and why the marketplace is asking us for rescue?
Yeah, so, a couple of years ago, we were at a YMCA risk management conference, and one of our customers, the YMCA of Greater Charlotte, they had brought to our attention that they were looking for a physical panic button in their pool areas because, smartphones aren't, so water friendly. And so they wanted something that their lifeguards could wear that would be able to automatically set off an alert. They didn't want them to even necessarily have to be able to press a button, but something that was water activated. We scoured the market. We looked all over the place to see if there was already something, a hardware that we can integrate our product with. And we did not find anything that we thought was remotely close to, what our customer, the YMCA, would be happy with. And so we decided, I guess we're getting into the hardware business because we want to make sure that we're solving that pain point for them. If a customer is losing sleep at night, we want to help them solve that problem. And so that's where rescue came from. was we've been developing it over the course of about a year, working very diligently with our YMCA partner, testing it with them. And it is the first safety wearable that is a water activated device. It also has the ability to have a panic button on there as well. You can see that red button on the wristband, but it's definitely customizable, flexible, so we can, change it to certain things like biometrics, to read biometrics and things like that. If your organization needed it to be programmed in a different way than just having that water activated feature. But that's something that we're pretty honored to be able to be a part of, and we were excited to work with our YMCA partner on.
No, that's great. And then if you look at this thing, kind of looks like a speaker because it actually is a speaker. This is a wall unit, so you could put this on a wall somewhere if you wanted to have somebody press a physical button, and then there's a speaker there for talking and listening, right? So again, just more engagement. When you talk about panic buttons, certainly it's an important tool. However, PunchAlert, what we're doing for the hotel and hospitality industry is, we're making it a lot more dynamic than just a single panic button, right? So with that, you can kind of see a little bit more details here of what that speaker would look like and going on a wall. But also you have these units that are wearables. They can, they're waterproof. So if you have a pool and you need somebody that's over there, certainly you have this. And if you have lifeguards, they can wear this as well. But the nice thing too is this can be a clip, within your a suit jacket, or a clip that's on an apron, or on somebody's person, or they can wear it as a lanyard as well, right? You can wear it around your neck, and then you'd be able to either outside of your clothing or inside of your clothing to help you use that panic display. So what some folks are saying about PunchAlert, what we're super excited about, Dr. or Kenna Powell, who's the director of security for a school here in Charlotte, right? They had a power outage, right? And how do you respond to that? She's on the leadership team. She was actually out of town when this happened, and she was actually able to work with her team in regards to, hey, what's the protocol to make sure that we get our students on the bus, and going home to school during a power outage, right? So these are things, even though it's a school, again, they're dealing with large pieces of property, and your staff might not always be on site when that incident happens. So the nice thing is you have control and visibility even when you're not on site. Large healthcare corporation here in Charlotte, Carolina's healthcare system, which is now called Atrium. They were able to resolve a bomb threat within minutes, which again, Brian here would say would have taken them hours, right? So certainly if there is an evacuation process, how do we account for those? And Ashley talked about those earlier, right, on how you can account for your folks. And then, also we talk about our risk teams and our risk managers. They love PunchAlert because it mitigates your risk, right? You're able to respond quickly, but also we haven't shown you, but there's a lot of reporting that comes along with PunchAlert, so that your risk team and your safety team have all that information, and your administrators as well. And then, here on the bottom, Cameron Corder, who's the CEO of the YMCA out in west of Charlotte here in Cleveland County. They actually had an active shooter. Fortunately, they weren't on property, but they came close to their property, and they had to shut things down. So certainly, you never know where these incidents are going to happen, and you want to make sure your staff is protected. So with that, thank you, Ashley, for jumping on the call today with us. Also, as you're getting started, please let us know if you have any questions. Here's my information. You can call me directly at 980-785-2261, and I would love to set up a talk with you about how we can help you with your emergency action plan, or how are you doing critical event management. You can also email me. In regards to questions, Ashley, what are you seeing out there as some of the common questions that folks are asking us?
I think a lot of people are just wondering about, implementation, the time that it would take to get them set up and started. That's probably one of the questions.
Yeah, I mean, time right is how do you do this? So the nice thing with our groups is we have a lot of folks who that are in that emergency and safety field. They're willing to share. So that's the one real nice thing about Punch Alert is we've got a lot of folks who are our customers. They're willing to share their plans, which is super helpful, right? We're all trying to be in a safer environment. So we have access to a lot of great resources and a lot of great plans. Make sure that our customers and our hospitality customers are super safe. So when you're thinking of keeping your housekeeping staff safe, think about Punch Alert. So with that, we wish you all a great, happy summer. And if there's anything we can do for you, please give us a call. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks, guys.